Welcome back to Momentum Trade Diaries. I'm Robin. In this video, I'm finishing up the initial watch list setup and updating the portfolio to account for a couple trades I made at the open. These are the securities I follow on a daily basis and trade when signals are triggered. I usually stay in a trade anywhere from a couple days to a couple weeks, so this is not day trading. I prefer a longer holding period, so I'm not glued to the computer screen all day. This way, I can do a check in the morning, update the alerts, and go about my day unless the alerts are triggered later on. I will focus on price levels, set price alerts for future trades, and explain what signals I use to make trades. I created this channel so you can follow along with me as I trade the markets using my momentum trading strategy. You'll see my wins and my losses, and we will all hopefully learn what it takes to make money in the stock market over the long term. If you want to suggest any tickers for me to add to the watch list, or if you have any questions, send a comment, hit the like button, and I'll take a look. I'll be making new videos every couple days to update the watch list and track my real-time trades, so subscribe to keep up to date as the market moves. With that, let's jump in. Okay, here's the watch list. We left off at IONQ, so I'm going to quickly go over the last four that I just added a couple minutes ago and explain why there's some open trades now. And also, we'll take a look at a couple other trades that were made at the open based on the alerts we set yesterday. So I'll talk more about that after we go through the rest of the watch list. And again, once we set up the watch list, it won't take as long for me to go through the watch list on a daily basis, and I'll be able to talk a lot more about the charts and the philosophy, the trading philosophy and strategy that is behind this portfolio. So let's jump into Lunar, LUNR, which is Intuitive Machines Inc. And let's move this over and take a look at the chart for Lunar. And looks like the support level I'm looking at is about 820. Didn't quite hit it this morning, but I'll keep the support level at 820 and then an alert just above the 20-day moving average at about 1111. It breaks above the 20 for a possible entry on the buy side. So that's why I chose 820 and 1111 for Intuitive Machines. Next, we have Strategy Inc., formerly known as MicroStrategy. So let's take a look at that chart. And MicroStrategy has dropped below the support from earlier this year, and we need to expand the chart to 2 years to see the next level of possible support. So if I expand this out to include 2024, we can see that it had a significant high at 200 and also ran into some resistance around the 180 to 185 level. So at this level, where it's currently trading at 197.59, I think this is a possible entry based on support at this pivot point of 200. So that's why I did enter a small trade into Strategy Inc. And I placed an alert at 175 to add just a little bit more if it hits that level. So we'll continue to watch to see if it does drop down to 175. And then on the high side, I set an alert right around that 260 level, just in case it miraculously jumps on Monday over the 20-day moving average, but most likely I'll be updating that again next week as the 20-day moves down. So if we go back to the watch list, you can see that I set the alert at 175 on the low side for support, and on the high side, just above the 20-day moving average at 260. And I also went ahead and placed a trade, and at the time, the trade was made at the price of 199.32. So that's why this is a little bit different than where the market is right now. And we'll just keep watching and seeing what happens with Strategy Inc. Okay, the next stock we're going to include in the watch list is Netflix. So if I jump over to, you can see I chose the support of 1075 and 1143 for the high side. So let's take a look at Netflix. I can quickly talk you through why I chose those numbers. Okay, Netflix is currently trading at 1121, and I see possible support around the 165 to 1100 range. And we can see that it did have a recent low right around that 1073 level. So I went ahead and put the alert just above that pivot point of 1064 at 1075. So that's the low. And then on the price alert for the high, I actually placed it right above today's high because it is at the 20 and the 200. So it is possible that maybe it's failing this test to regain those moving averages, or maybe this was a failed breakdown and it's now going to reverse next week possibly and continue this reversal, maybe based on this level of support pivot point. So I'm going to place the high alert for a possible entry just above today, which is 1143. So that's where those numbers came from on the watch list. Okay. And let's jump back to the watch list so we can take a look at the next stock, which is D-Wave Quantum Inc. and ticker symbol QBTS. So if we jump back over to, oh, I'm sorry, it's actually Palantir. Palantir is the next symbol that we're going to look at, PLTR. And so this symbol, this stock, currently trading right around that 175 level. And I see possible support right around the 170. So I think that it is possible that it's right above the support right now. We take a look here, just at that 170 level, we can see that it gapped up back in August. And then since then, it has tested it 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th test of 170. So this looks like pretty solid support at this point. Could break down and go lower. But I definitely see this. I mean, it's currently above 170. So if it closes above there, there's a good chance this could be a pivot point to continue up. So this is an entry based on support of 1% of the portfolio, and I can talk more about that, how that relates to the strategy later on. But so there was a trade placed earlier today, and the next level of support under that, I'm looking at about 150. You can see that it ran into resistance at 148, and then as it broke through that, it touched it again here and continued up. And then as it fell down, it touched that 148, 150 level here and found the support, and then touched it one more time at about 148 right here, and then bounced. So I could see this as the next level of support if it does continue down. So I placed an alert at 150, and then I placed another alert above the 20-day at just over 186. So those are the current alerts we have in the watch list for Palantir. Now we can talk about D-Wave Quantum, ticker QBTS. Well, actually, I should tell you back on Palantir that you can see that the entry was made at 175.22. And if we jump over to the portfolio allocation, we can see here Palantir, 3 shares were purchased for a total cost of just over $500, and that is 1% of the portfolio. This particular portfolio is 50,000 starting value, but the strategy can be tailored to smaller portfolios. So if you're starting at 5,000 or 10,000, then you would just use that 1% threshold for support buys based on that portfolio value. Okay, so let's jump back over to the watch list so we can finish up the initial setup of the watch list. And the setup takes the longest amount of time, but once it's finally set up and all these numbers are populated, the videos in the future over the next couple of weeks will be much more detailed about particular stocks, particular ETFs, and their charts, and what we see in the charts and how we can use the charts to make our trading decisions, and of course how the trading strategy is used, the rules of the strategy, and how that relates to the portfolio. So as we finish up this watch list, I'm going to look at QBTS. Take a look. All right, D-Wave Quantum Inc. In the quantum computing space industry, we have a pretty solid level of prior resistance around $20. And so I'm going to use that as the possible support, 20. And then on the high side, I'm going to use the 20-day moving average. So I'll use 31. So I'll say 20 and 31 as the alerts here. 20, 30. Okay, next, Reddit. Take a look at Reddit. I'll be able to talk a lot more about the individual stocks when I finish setting up the initial watch list. So here I see support at 180. So I'll place an alert at 180 and a high alert at 203. 180 and 203. Okay, here's next one is Rigetti Computing, another quantum computing stock. Let's take a look at that chart. Rigetti Computing, currently at 25.66. Level of support, this one, we have a high back at the beginning of 2025, just around that $21 or 20. And then we have a couple of highs here later in the year around that $17 to $18. And then we also have the 200-day moving average just around that 17.50. So I'm going to go ahead and place the alert 18 right near that 200-day moving average. And then on the high side, we'll look at the 20-day. So I'll place another alert at about $36. So 36 and 17.50 or 18. All right, we'll say 18 and 36. Okay, let's see, we're getting 18.36. Okay, RIVN Automotive is trading around 15.15. RIVN. Okay, so 15.16. And it looks like it's above the 20. I see some levels of support here around 13. 13 looks like a pretty good next level of support. So I will place an alert at 13, say 13.33. And on the high side, looks like it's definitely run into resistance a couple times around 19 to 16 to 18. So I'll say 18.13 and 13.33. 13.33 and 18.13. Okay, on to Rocket Lab Corporation. Look at RKLB. And on this one, let's see, below the 20-day, above the 200, we see possible support right here at 42.39, 42.31. So 42.50. 42.50 is a possible support. And then on the high, we will look at the 20-day. So 42.50 and $58. 42.50 and 58. Okay, SAP. SAP, SAP. Take a look at that. SAP. If the chart loads up here, looks like we have some support at 240. Okay, so I'll place an alert at 241 and on the low side for possible support. And on the high side, we'll say 262. 241, 262. Okay, now we'll look at Supermicro Computer Inc., SMCI. Okay, and we have some support levels around 30. So 30 on the low side, 46 on the high side for the 20 days. So 30, 46. 30, 46. Okay, next is SOFI Technologies. Take a look at SOFI Technologies. Okay, SOFI looks like just under the 200 today. I'm sorry, just under the 20 today. And right at that resistance level or possible support level. So on the low side, I'm going to go under that. And it looks like I have support level set up here at about 24. So I will use 24 as the low and the 20 days at 29.46. So I'll just put 30 as the high. So 24, 30 for the price alerts. 24, 30. Okay. Spotify Technologies. Let's take a look at the chart for Spotify. And having trouble getting above the 20-day here, but I did mark a possible support right here at 615. So on 620, actually, just at the 620. So I'm going to place an alert at 620, and then on the high side, I'll put it above today's high, which just so happens to be above the 200 and the 20. So some interesting happenings going on. The 20-day moving average is crossing over on the downside, the 200-day moving average. So not always a good sign when the price action comes up to test that crossover and fails it, but it could possibly jump up from here. We'll see if this is a failed test on the reversal, or if this is actually confirmation that Spotify is heading lower. So let's wait and see. 620 on the low and 655 on the high. Okay, 620, 655. Toll Brothers, the home builder. Toll Brothers. See how they're doing today. Okay, so they've run into resistance around that 140 recently, and they are trading below the 20-day. So looks like next level of support could be either that 2646 level or a little bit lower around that 120 level. So I will put the alert at the 120, say 121, and then above the 20 at 136. 121, 136. 121 and 136. Okay, two more. Almost there. Visa. Credit cards. I have a level of support at 327, and a high at 342. We go a little above the 20, so 327, 342. 327, 342. And finally, Vertiv Holdings. The final addition to the initial watch list. How exciting. We finally made it. It only took us 3 tries to get through, and we are finally there. 155, 153, 152. We'll say 155 and 183. 155, 183. We did it. We did it. We created our watch list. We have price alerts ready to go. So let me save this and do a quick recap on what happened this morning. Let's start with QQQ. We set the alert at 601, and it opened at just under that, at 599. So let's do this. Let's look. We made a purchase in the portfolio at the open. So if we jump over to QQQ, NASDAQ 100, we will see that at the moment it looks like a nice solid support level that held. It opened at 599.55. I got in at 599.59, so right at the open, because we knew that the support was at 600, or we believed that the support was at 600. So we placed a 1% trade because based on the strategy, the support buys are limited to 1% of the total portfolio. So in this case, we did a 1% buy on QQQ at the open. So let me show you what that looks like in the allocation here. Okay. Yeah, here's QQQ and the initial cost, 1 share. So really 1% would have been $500 even, but 1 share costs $5.99. So we had to go just a little bit above the 1%. And so that's why that looks like that. And let's refresh, see if there's any changes here. So we did the same thing with GBTC. Let's do a quick look at that one. And then let's see, GBTC. So today, let's pull up the chart here. And, okay. This is VIX, but we want GBTC, Bitcoin Trust. All right, so we had a level of support at just under 74, and or 75, 74 to 75. It opened at 74.61. So made a purchase, 1% of the portfolio at the open. So that's where we see this purchase right here, 74.65 today. And same thing happened for XLK, XLY, and Meta, GE Verona, and Strategy, MicroStrategy. We just talked about that one, and we talked about Palantir. So over here, let's see where we are here. Yeah, so these are the purchases that were made at 1%. And you will notice there's also one here at 5%. That's because this was not a support level purchase. And if we look at GE Verona, let me pull that up. GE Verona. GE Vernova. What am I talking about? GE Vernova. So this purchase was based on a crossover of the PPO. Looks like the RSI is starting to bounce up, testing that 50 level, and the relative strength against the SPY looks like it's testing and possibly breaking above the 20-day moving average of that relative strength chart against the SPY. So this may fail, but we're giving it a try. Just we'll set the stop loss somewhere below the 20, but we'll see if it can hold the level of the 20-day moving average at 575, and see what happens there. We will definitely need to put an alert that if it goes below that 575. So we'll say maybe 570. If it goes below 570, we may have to go ahead and exit that. But this was a 5% buy because this is an individual stock, so it's got to be limited to 5%. And all right, so that's where that came from, based on the strategy. The limit is 5% for an individual stock, and we'll talk more about that later. But that's all for now. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more as we